You're the man. Somebody. That's right. That was a good trip. Hey, from there, I got a look. What's going on? One of them. Nice house yesterday. Right. Right. We were at a football game and he was. Yeah. Yeah. I'll have a suit on, but it's on. Oh, I said, what's wrong with this? So you're Twitter fans. Yeah. Right. Now she's thinking of it. True. That's good stuff. Oh, yeah. Take your
Hi, David.
Yeah.
13, you got 13 on and 25 waiting. Hmm? All board members here.
I just let your wife in. I just let your wife in if that's what you're worried about. Hillary. She's not named if she's on it. And I'm about to let everybody in. No. Yeah.
Verizon says it's 5 o'clock. Is that the right time? I'd call the meeting to order. Thank you for joining us for Weakley County School Board. Join the pledge, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Got some announcements to make, and one thing I want to make announcements today. We've got a pretty full agenda and a lot of discussion going on. So we're going to stick to our board policy. We're not going to be entertaining discussion from the audience unless you're on the agenda. So we'll be sticking to the agenda strictly, and then we'll take care of all the discussion that we've got coming up before us tonight. We have a lot of things to discuss. So we're sticking strictly to the agenda. The next school board meeting will be Thursday, September 3rd, 5 o'clock here in the conference room. We'd like to extend our sympathy to Arlene Hazelwood, who has lost her mother, and to Brenda Bayer, who has also lost her mother. Our condolences to this family who is lost in our Weakley County Schools family. We have no additions to the agenda this evening, so the agenda we're considering is that which was already sent to us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Your second. Moving to second. Any questions about the agenda? Any additions, deletions, changes? All in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It is approved. Next item of business is the minutes of the July 2nd school board meeting. Those were distributed prior to the meeting as well. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions about the minutes as we presented, changes, deletions, additions? All in favor of approving the minutes of the July 20th meeting, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It is approved. Minutes are approved. Next item of business is trustee to the sick leave bank committee. Is that one or two people on that? Two. We've had John and Kim. Do y'all wish to continue, or should nominate some other people? Okay. Nominations for the sick leave bank committee are John Hatler, Kim Longacre. I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions about those two? Well, lots of questions. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Congratulations. Serve on that committee.
It's going to be especially fun this year.
Good point. I'm glad we have you all next time. Next item of business to consider and approve the CARES Act budget. I believe that was submitted. Any changes to that, or you will walk through the
I'll just give you a summary of what we're doing. This is the federal stimulus money that's designated specifically to address the COVID-19 situation. We have 2 years to spend this money. It's very fluid. It's going to change. It's already changed once since we drafted it to present to you all, because our needs and decisions are changing. In essence, you'll see that we've got some extra money set aside for teachers as we go to the modified distance education program or monitored distance. We'll have some teachers that will be their full-time responsibility. They will oversee that. We'll also be paying stipends for teachers as they check in with students that are not attending school. There's money for training in there to hire substitute teachers if we have to do training that goes along with that. A special education program will be offering compensatory services, things such as PT, speech, in addition to what we normally do for students that may have gotten behind during the closure, or if we have to do that in a different type of setting. Cleaning supplies for schools, our buses, all locations that we're using, some of those dollars are budgeted for that. And then also for transportation, you can see if we budget money in case we end up having to especially transport either school materials or meals via bus to homes. We've got a plan in order to pay our drivers and take care of our expenses for that. Once again, this is all federal money. There's no local money, and I can promise you it will change.
And you said this is for the current and next school year?
We have until June 30th of 2021 to spend, no, June of 2022 to spend it. So we've got really 2 full years to spend this money. I don't think we'll have any trouble spending it the first year.
Is there a motion to approve the CARES Act budget?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All right, what questions we have about the budget? What's happening?
71,100, 722 to 446,000 for laptops. I may be jumping the shark a little bit. I know Thursday found out that those 2,000 computers are not coming. We want to talk about that. Is that something we're going to talk about later, or
We can talk about it whenever you all want to. I mean, whether they come or not right now, you know, at some point, we still got that money designated. We may see that later on down the road that we're able to access computers somewhere else or look at another way to use this money. We could do that. The original plan, I think, was about 600,000 in this money. So we've already started tailoring that down a little bit, but that is definitely an issue. We're probably pretty confident unless something changes, it could be Christmas before we get in a bulk order of computers. Not making much headway at the national level. The tariffs that we put on China has caused us not to be able to get our laptops. So
have we been able to reach out to Dell or someone like that? And I know Dell has a leasing program that they may be getting refurbished computers, things like that, and we reached out to them at all?
I don't think we've looked at refurbishing. We may end up having to do that. We really would hope not to do that because those machines don't last. We went through that several years ago and we spent a lot of money on machines that lasted a year or two and then get thrown away. So that would be, not that we wouldn't look at that, but that would be the last ditch effort. The problem is everybody's asking for those things. That's the whole scenario. Every district has ordered hundreds and thousands, and I heard the governor say in his reopening, some schools that start this week don't have any computers. So it's not just a West Tennessee area.
I mean, we are, I mean, it goes without saying, we are exhausting every.
Yeah, we'll look, you know, we've talked, there may be some situations we can come up with a few hundred in emergency. We've got our 1,100 that we normally use in the school setting. It would be our first option. If we had to start handing out devices to students, we'll look at that first. Hopefully, we think we may get a better accurate count on actually how many devices students have. You know, I shared that information from the survey, but the more we've got on this summer, we think our numbers might be a little better. We think some students might have filled out some of the surveys saying they didn't have devices, hoping that we wouldn't give them work, particularly at one of our high schools in a larger community. So until we actually get everyone back in the building or get something filled out, we don't know how many. It's an issue. It's not going to be an easy fix. Mark, I don't know if you want to speak to that. We had several conversations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually, right before I left the office today, we had a little movement from our vendor where we have looked at another avenue. I'm not at liberty to tell you right now because I don't have all the details, but there has been a little movement in that area. What has happened is the company that we buy the computers from, not our vendor, but the Lenovo company, is trying to avoid a human rights charge. And so there's one small component that's made that goes into the computers that we have ordered. And in order to avoid that charge, they have gone into a kind of self-imposed embargo. All of this is new information. The director did not even know that. I just found this out today in talking with some of our vendor partners and people like me across the state. And I will tell you, it's not just across Tennessee, it's across the nation. The three vendors that we use mainly to purchase our equipment from, they all have multiple millions of dollars tied up in this situation. So our congressmen, our U.S. senators have been involved in the situation, or at least their staffs have been involved in the situation. And, you know, we're shaking bushes and rattling bushes and shaking trees, but we are where we are.
I know Lenovo's the device of choice for a lot of reasons. Feasibility of getting outside Lenovo, are we still dealing with the same issue with machines aren't available? I mean,
Yes. Yeah, from what I've been told. The machine that we ordered is an education machine made for the education environment. And yes, I've been in contact with other vendors. I've been in contact with other companies, and biggest bang for the buck, we have ordered the biggest bang for the buck.
for the layperson, going to Walmart and talking to Scotty Simmons, the general manager over there, and saying, hey, can we get something? Tell me why, if you don't mind, explain why that's either not feasible or doesn't work within, because you talk about an education machine. Tell me why, if you could please tell us kind of why that's not feasible and what we're trying to do with our distance learning.
The machines that we have ordered were made for the education environment. The machines that are on sale at Walmart are made for your home environment. That's two totally different environments. If we bought those machines at Walmart, the possibility is that those machines would not last the year. And we'd be in a situation where we'd be buying more machines than we would be right now. Unless you're seeing a closure, an imminent closure, where we're going to have to offer online learning, no campus at all, then we are getting ready or will be prepared to go. If you're looking at a no campus situation, there's no district in this state that's ready to go.
And just to kind of go back to the home use versus school use, we're facing children having to be at home. What's the aversion to purchasing that product from a Walmart that's really made for home use, that we use at home? Because we know that those Lenovo's are a quality machine that get bounced around in the cart all over the place. I understand that, but a home-based type machine made for home, what keeps us from looking at that option to maybe not get the best quality computer, but the end result could it be the same to provide that student with a device to be educated at home?
I do not believe that that would be the best use of taxpayer dollar. The best use of taxpayer dollar. Would a machine that's made to work at home, as long as John Hatler's paying for it, then sure, it would work at home. But you're also looking then at different models at different houses. Your maintenance and support costs and time go up. We could not cover 2,000 different machines with the 5 guys we've got right now that work for our technology department.
Thank you.
We've got a lot of people, I'd like to talk to several about volunteers about helping with tutoring and things like that. We probably have an opportunity to reach out to organizations, evenings and things like that, and work with people on things like that. I don't know if that's not the optimum scenario, but at least we may have some help with that through different organizations. I've been contacted by 3 organizations who said we could need tutors or things like that, and maybe even computers. Help that as well. Sure, understand. You know, we can't get out there with 2 dozen different pieces of equipment. It'd be very tough to maintain and keep everybody up to speed, but it's going to come to that.
I hope we keep that on the table. I mean,
Everything's on the table.
I know, but I just, I appreciate what Tommy Liggins Todd Hampton, Dr. Carver, they're all trying the best they can to help. This goes south.
Just one quick question. So the Lenovo option, have we ever looked at Chromebooks and stuff like that? I know that that's something that some districts have done. Is that, that's Mark?
We've never done Chromebooks because a Chromebook that cannot attach to the internet is worthless, especially for what we're trying to do.
Right.
So we've not ever looked at Chromebooks. Chromebooks have the same component that the Winbooks have. So they're not shipping either.
Right. My friend in Lincoln County Superintendent, they ordered all Chromebooks and they got sent out.
If I heard you correctly, you're saying right now with the plan we have in place, we're probably okay till put something in press. Okay, I said okay.
Okay is a relative term.
Right. Very vague.
Yes. But we have 1,100 machines. We have more than that, but we have 1,100 laptops that we purchased 3 years ago that honestly we're getting toward the end of life. We can utilize those to do what we need to do. But in a no campus situation, what Mr. Fraser termed a no campus in a meeting today, no, we're not ready. We can get ready, but not in 10 days.
One other question, these 1,100, are these ones that currently are in use in like in labs or parks that are capable of being reassigned, at least for the time being? Any other questions about the CARES Act budget? All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It is approved. Okay, 2021 school calendar.
Okay, I have
Scheduled to start on the 17th.
I have given you two options. These are not the only options because we can segue off into whatever direction you want to go. I'll kind of explain what you're looking at. All this is contingent on us starting August 17th as we're scheduled to do today and moving forward. The first option, as I shared with the teachers in a Zoom meeting, we moved student start day back 10 days. 10 instructional days. 5 of those days, the state has granted us the ability to use stockpile 5 additional days. So which in essence means because we go 7 hours a day, we won't have to make those days up instruction with students. So 5 of the 10 that we moved are covered. So in a normal school year, our children come 178 days. And the other 2 days make up the 180 are PD days. We do 1 each semester, and by law, we can use stockpile time for. So this year, as we said, students will have 173 days of instruction with teachers, and teachers, instead of 2 PD days, will have had 7, and all those are before the year. That's what we're currently doing now. So we had to find out 5 days for student instruction during the calendar. Option 1, basically how we're covering those 5 days. If you think about our old calendar, our original calendar, we were going to get out on Friday, September the 4th, which was going to be a PD day for teachers, but kids wouldn't come, piggybacked off that day. Our first day we would go with students to make up would be that Friday, September the 4th. So that's off the calendar. That's 1 day. Originally, if you go down to December, we were supposed to get out for Christmas December 17th on a Thursday at lunch. We would get out on Friday, December the 18th at lunch. That's the second day that we've added for students. On January the 4th, that Monday, in the old calendar, that was teachers only on Monday, and students returned on Tuesday the 5th. In this calendar, everyone would come back on the 4th, and that would be the third additional day for student instruction. And then if you go to the very end of the calendar, the heel of the calendar, originally, our original calendar, the last day for students was on Tuesday, May the 18th. And in this calendar, we would extend 2 more days to get day 4 and 5 for students. We would dismiss on Thursday, May the 20th, and then we would do report cards a half a day the next day. We'd be creative, we wouldn't have a work day, we'd move that to the front of the calendar. So this is one where the 5 student days are made up on 5 separate. 1 in September, 1 in December, 1 in January, 2 at the end. This maintains a full week of fall break. That's option 1. This is the only calendar I'm presenting to you all that has fall break in there. The second option, in essence, the biggest difference with the second option, with option 2, there is no fall break week in there. And so we have, in essence, the 5 days that we missed, we're going to go 5 full days of fall break. Now you can see when you compare those calendars, it changes. In option 2, we go back and get out on Thursday, December 17th. Students wouldn't return until January the 5th, students and teachers. There's a little bit of difference there. The only, I would say the only thing that you could be flexible on if you decided, instead of piggybacking doing a student day and a parent-teacher conference the same day, you could just have 1 separate day for parent-teacher conference sometime in October. If you want to do a mini fall break and do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you could do that. I know some of the pulse has been, if we get back to school in the setting and we take a week off, we're opening ourselves up for having another surgery we're currently dealing with. So those are 2. I guess the first thing we need to decide as a board is moving forward that we want to have a fall break or not. To me, that's the kicker, and everything else works around that fall break.
I would assume most everyone wants a fall break. So that teachers.
I want a break, period. It's fall, tomorrow, whenever I can get one. I would be, I'm sure everyone will want a break, but we all know this is an unusual year. Sorry.
Every school system in the country is rolling the dice. Let's just be honest about it. That's what we're all doing on trying to figure this out. My question is, in a perfect world, as much as our educators have gone through these first 3 weeks of in-service, as much as I detest fall break, they're going to need it. They're going to need it in a big way. So, in order to do that and hope, cross our fingers, hope everything goes well, my question for you, and I got a couple follow-ups been on answers. The State Department of Education, where are they on the standardized testing? Are they still requiring it this year?
We're still taking tests. We're still evaluating teachers. We're still expected to go 6.5 hours a day, whether we're in school or at home learning, for 180 days. No, there's no flexibility at all.
Okay.
We'll start.
So that leads to my second part of this. What keeps us from extending the school year if, I don't want to extend it, but if we have a winter like we had 2 years ago, we have those kind of issues where we're missing 12, 13, 14, 15 days. What keeps us from adding those days on at the end of May and being flexible, in my mind, being flexible to kind of take what punches get thrown at us? And Doug, and I'll tell you, duck season's been terrible the last 2 years because it's been warm. I'm anticipating a terrible winter just because 2020 sucks anyway. But what keeps us from adding days at the end of the year to combat possible loss of instruction days in January, February, March?
The parameters that we have by law are, as I've shared with you, the requirements for number of days. Then there have been restrictions on you can't start school earlier than this day. Other than that, it's a discretion of the local body. So if we said, hey, we want to just take a week Christmas, start later, don't come back till September, go the whole month of June, that window's open for however you need school to look in the calendar. There's no requirements. You could go every day and not take any breaks and get out the end of April. If you get your 180 days in, you're done. If you need to extend that and go through the month of June, the entire month of June, you can do that also. So you have as much flexibility as you want to use. So there's no restrictions there.
I think, not knowing what we got coming before us, I think we need to consider the fact that this may be a longer year period. I'm one that's not, the breaks will allow people to do things that they may not need to, but I think you're right. I think the teachers will need a break from October, and staffs need a break. But at the end of the year, I think it's up in the air right now to me.
My opinion is the people who are going to go and travel and do whether we take a break or not. That's what we're finding anyway. So I don't know that us saying that, hey, we're going to do away with fall break keeps people from leaving on a Friday and taking a long weekend and going travel. That's just the normal life of people. So, but we have as much flexibility. If we got in a situation, just like in a snow year, we say we're going to go to full spring break. The board sets the calendar.
And so with that being said, if we hypothetically approve option 1 tonight, we have to set a calendar tonight.
You don't, and you can amend that calendar anytime you want to during the year.
Seems like something we're gonna have to be going over every single meeting, honestly.
May have to.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fluid thing.
Yeah.
Part of me says this is me. Part of me says, let's just keep rolling with the calendar as we have it today. I don't know what that does, but I mean.
That calendar shows that we're August 3rd.
What's that?
The calendar we have right now says August 3rd.
Well, we can approve a calendar that says August 17th. I'm talking about, I don't want this, personally, I don't want this to be set in stone for if we got to change things.
Well, if what you're doing in essence, we have to amend our original calendar.
Okay,
So what we would be looking at doing would be adopting, what I'm hearing you say is adopt calendar 1, which starts school on August 17th. It keeps a full week fall break. And then we have those 5 days that we had to move student instruction, as I have in this plan, that 1 day in September, and that extra day in December, 1 day in January, and then 2 at the end of the year. That option 1 does that. I think that's what
it is. And if we lose 15 instruction days for the ice apocalypse of 2021, we have the option to add days at the end of the school year. I know that's not popular. I mean, that messes up my vacation that I haven't had in 2 years. But I'm just saying that I think that needs to be something that we communicate to teachers, parents, everyone, that this is an option.
where we sit now, which is different than normal. We have only 6 stockpile snow days left. You have 13 total. We usually use 2 PD and have 11 in case. Well, because of the way we move the calendar, we will have used 7 of those days and only have 6 left. Now, in a perfect world, if we have to close in the winter for snow, if our technology is in a better situation, we could have school and not be in our buildings and count a school day. That's allowable. We've talked about that even before coronavirus would be nice not to take snow day, we still could do some instruction and not have to make that time. So that's a possibility there also. But I think option one's what you're looking at. It doesn't mean we won't have to come back and change it.
That's what I wanna make sure is we're not hanging ourselves in on.
No, we're not. I think it's important to pick a start date that we're trying to target. And then the number of days. Now, one thing I did deal with today a little bit, I got some secondary calls. There were some teachers not wanting to sign contracts because they thought with the changes I made in the calendar, they now were going to be working 205 days rather than 200. That's not correct. It's only 200 days any way you maneuver it. So we just need to make sure that we're going 200 days and that we have a start date and we can be good.
I'll make a motion that we adopt option one.
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have one question. I want to, are we going to be discussing another area start? I mean, this is locking in the start date for August the 17th. Is that correct?
As of today.
Yeah, but are we going to be discussing in any other place? I've had a lot of calls and questions about whether or not we're going to open up, on campus, no campus, the distance learning. Are we going to discuss that in this board meeting? Okay, so that's coming down pipe. Okay.
Well, I heard Ms. Fraser say we will approve a calendar, but it is subject to review at any time. So I think it's good to note that as everybody starts making their plans, maybe they don't put them in stone yet for the fall, for the spring semester probably. I think we're going to have to meet the guidelines and they'll pass this year. State Department says we got slickered last year, but this year we're going to be ready for it. We're going to meet the objectives and meet all the criteria this year. So I think we understand that we've got to do that in the public school system. And then if that means the calendar after September gets changed, it's changed.
Well, I think the political leaders have made it very clear that last year folks got paid when we didn't have school. And thankfully we were able to do that. But that won't happen this time. So, along with trying to deal with safety, we also have got people's livelihood involved here. We're not having school, we don't get funding, people don't get paid. So, both ways.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor of adopting option one of the school calendar, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It is approved. Option one, subject to review any given month. Let's call it in. After school program.
We brought this topic up for discussion last month and had some people speak to the particular topic. But I've had conversations with the 3 schools involved that have after-school program. And as I shared with you, one of the dilemmas we're in, we have 3 directors that are, quote, full-time people. They work every day. They're in charge of those programs. We currently have 1 position vacant, which is at one of the Martin schools. In Martin, all of our part-time workers, for the most part, are college students. We rely on those students coming back, that we have no certainty what that hiring environment's going to look like. The third thing is we're asking our buildings and teachers to stay 5:30 or 6 every night if we have school open, in a year where we're going to have to be doing additional cleaning. We've got to separate differently than we normally had to do in the past. And you can't just group all the kids together and have 50 or 60 or 3 or 4 adults watching them as we did in the past. I would propose to this board that we postpone our after-school program to a later date and not start the first 6 weeks having after school. We don't have it in 7 of our campuses, just in 3. If we have it, not that we can't get it going in time, but we've got some principals that are trying to get school started, that now this becomes a priority of trying to hire people. And we have to really look at increasing the daily rate, because we took a pretty good hit and loss of money last year because of virus and people not coming a certain number of days, you still got people on payroll, so. I would ask that we not begin our after-school program in Martin and in Dresden, at least the first 6 weeks, to give us a chance to get things going before we have another layer of things happening now. Doesn't impact Greenfield, Lisa and Sharon, they don't have them anyway, never have. But it does Martin and Dresden. The two people that we have that are one in Martin, one in Dresden, that are our directors, we can use those folks during the school day the first 6 weeks. During the regular day, there's gonna be enough to do. Principals can have them come on, they won't lose their time or pay, it just being different. Line of work.
What is your understanding of the, y'all may know more about than I do, UT Martin's plans for reopening in August?
School or daycare or what?
School.
They're
school.
open in a hybrid setting.
Classes start on the 17th, so be either in person or hybrid or online.
Have you heard anything about what they're anticipating on campus for, students?
What I was told Tuesday is the on-campus numbers are not down 2 to 3% maybe. It's not from admissions people, that was from the old staff.
You're saying that Martin School, after school program, utilizes a lot of UT students. There's a possibility that we might have students to utilize down the road, but this is something we can't get certain of right now, is what you're saying.
That's right. Are we finding that our rates for after school is, I try not to use the word cheap, but too cheap?
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of them.
$5 a day, you leave your kid from 2:30 to 5:30.
Is there a possibility that we can change those rates?
Absolutely.
I don't know about it. I've heard no discussion with this from anybody in Martin. Do they?
Tons,
Yes.
tons. They are begging
Yes.
to keep the after-school program for a lot of reasons. I've been told point blank that they felt it was too cheap, willing to pay more, because that's the thing, to your point that I explained, is staffing was an issue. Our Dresden and Martin principals, did they mention anything to you at all about this, or they kind of been on their back burner?
No, I've heard from all three of them.
I talked with Dresden principal this evening. Her concern is the bunching up of children.
And the principal's concern is, in reality, the principal doesn't stay there at 5:30 every night. They've hired people to do that. And so now you have people that you expect to follow all the guidelines that we have a lot to go by. But if something happens, it's ultimately going to be on that principal's plate, who wasn't there till 5:30 in the afternoon, where for some reason, two of our workers don't show up, college kids don't come, and now we got 40 kids and 2 adults watching them. And how do you social distance 40 with only 2 workers there that afternoon? We expect us not to get them together. That's an issue. I would say one principal in Martin is pretty adamant not to have to do it. They're probably going to have to hire somebody in the next 2 weeks on top of trying to fill teaching positions for people who are not coming back on time. Those kinds of things. Dresden is probably more ready to go. The principal was a little concerned that at our last meeting, the conversation happened in this meeting that she had not even had with her building person, who knew absolutely nothing about the new plans of what it was going to look like and how it had to look different. And so that.
And this may be a pipe dream as well with all the stress, but has there been a thought to, a lot of it was academic concerns from the parents that called. It was the importance of the academic enrichment that their child received at after school hours. Here, from parents. Financial compensation for teachers. They want to stay one day a week. I know they're worn out and tired, maybe.
One of the principals did email me with a proposal today, considering teachers and giving them extra money to stay. And I'm not against that at all. We use them for our tutoring program and our extended contract. We've always done that. But once again, you're speculating in a different year where we may be asking teachers during the day to not only serve their kids in the classroom, serve kids at home, make phone calls after school and those kinds of things. I just can't guarantee how many you would have.
How many students do we have participating after school last year?
It varies. I would say Martin, probably pretty consistent. Sometimes 50 or 60, would you say, Tristan?
An average of 60 at each of those locations. Hopefully, 50 that.
So probably an average of about 170 students.
But at Martin Primary last year, we limited the enrollment greatly compared to what we had in the past. So that number wasn't higher just because we didn't buy. We didn't have anything.
That's why we limit it.
Yeah, it was staffing issue last year, even when we weren't kind of social distance.
Hey Randy, another thought, with the extra cleaning processes and stuff that they're gonna have to do, or is time gonna allow for that? I was talking to one of the supervisors recently, and some of the things that they're gonna have to do for our cleaning, they're gonna require a certain period of time, people not in the building.
It'll
So that might be.
put another burden on the cleaning people. And one of the concerns that we had in a normal year, you could put all those kids in 1 or 2 classrooms. This year, we may have to use 5 or 6 rooms to spread them out. And so now you've got multiple rooms you're waiting on until after 6 o'clock.
But that was one of their concerns, was I don't know if we can do this or not, based off of what we're gonna be required to do. And the space they're gonna be occupying as opposed to the short confined that they used to. So it might be something we might think about before we make a decision on
I know we will, but can we make I understand the 6-week window. I would really like to. I know you got my own. It's got to be somebody who can help you out on this and trying to figure it out, because it's a much needed resource for those kids, and not all of us community's got different issues. And Martin, I wish I had it. I wish there may be a need in Gleason, but I mean, we've rarely ever heard that is one. I'm sure it is, but it's a much needed resource. And if we're going to push this back 6 weeks, I hope that we can.
And I just threw 6 weeks. We may say not until November and September.
And that may be. I would hope for the well-being of students and the parents, and getting back to work and having that ability to you find somebody. It's got to be me. I'll figure it out. I mean, to get this, to make a concerted effort to get this program up and going in a feasible time.
Did we get it up and running in 4 weeks? I mean, just
We would hope so. We would hope so.
This is another opportunity for volunteers to come step up. Two of the groups have been, our church.
I think a motion that we postpone the after day school program for 4 weeks after the August 17th date to start day of school.
So a motion to postpone after school program for 4 weeks. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Where did you get 6 weeks?
I'm just throwing that out there. Kind
So
of,
4 weeks is not gonna be.
the issue is going to be from a logistical standpoint. We don't know what it's going to look like this first week of school as far as cleaning and things. But then at some point, a principal is going to have to sit down with the director. They're going to hire people. And kids going to get back on campus. We've not had connection with those folks since last March, so we don't know who's coming back, and that staff is a turnover anyway. In a regular year, it's not very consistent.
But we would have another school board meeting between now and the 4 weeks expiration, so we can address this in next 4 games.
And even the proposal for 6 weeks that I suggested was not us not putting on the back burner, not making preparations to hit that program once sometime.
Yeah.
During the year, it just gives us some more time.
Sure.
To think about staffing, cost, and those kinds of things. That's been a program that's been self-sustainable financially, but we lost money last year.
It's too cheap. Now it's too cheap.
How much did we lose last year?
One school lost $4,000, which part of that was we shut down, we weren't doing daycare, but we continued to pay people because that's what the government said you had to do. You wanted to get your students money. We lost about $4,000.
But it's too cheap. It's way too cheap. The services provided is way too cheap.
Could we consider maybe investigating maybe a price increase and bringing that to the board next month?
It's increasing. But I'm mistaken, man. It's not something I think we need to, I mean, I'm not just getting on.
Yeah.
It's
You don't have, that doesn't need
run the
board approval.
business.
That doesn't need board approval, the rate, right?
Have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor of delaying the start of after-school program 4 weeks, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. I've got a similar question, but not directly related. I've been asked about extracurricular activities. So is that addressing our, like tea clubs and things like that? So, but.
Agenda 8.
I'll just comment in general. It was, like tea clubs and things like that, met at schools, debate clubs.
What we've talked about as a school team is to limit all those kind of gatherings for 6 weeks. Once again, trying to get back to normal, trying to figure out what the home setting and the school setting is to not have these large gatherings after school to meet the various clubs.
So I can tell the people that we probably will have them, but not the first 6 weeks.
So it's like they needed an answer this week, and I gave them, we won't be doing the leadership week again.
Okay.
Because I can't guarantee that right now we're going to allow students and folks to come in our buildings all throughout the year.
Give me a couple.
I was moving.
Okay, that's good.
Well, as we're talking about that, it's not, I thought I'd put it on the agenda, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm talking about the extracurricular.
But we discussed participation of extracurricular activities with students who choose not to come back.
That's the agenda 8.
That's the agenda 8. So I don't know if we want to.
There we go.
If we want to talk about all, if we want to wait till we get to that point, talk about it all at one time.
Well, if it fits better here, we can go ahead and do that.
Let's go. This way. Cool way.
It's not like 7's gonna be any more fun. All right. Discuss sick leave policy for employees that are absent from work due to COVID-19. We've taken several of us taken a lot of questions about that.
Well, and I shared with you all that I would do some research and spoke with our school board attorney. And I think it's important we come up with some type of emergency sick leave policy for our staff that have to quarantine, have to be home isolating due to the virus. And I can envision a first-year teacher with no sick days that comes in close contact maybe with a student, and we force them to go home for 14 days, and now they don't have any income. They have no sick days, they have no paid time. And so I think we need to consider having a policy that allows us to not charge our employees sick days if it's verifiably related to coronavirus, which according to the health department, they can document saying they're having a quarantine or they tested positive. And even for teachers in a long-term setting, I may have to quarantine, but once our technology's up running, I still might be doing instructing at home. But I just would hate to see some of our folks could end up losing all their sick leave in one swing over something and then not even be sick. So in essence, what it would mean is we're paying substitute days. Because that's what usually happens when a teacher takes a sick leave day. They're covered and we pay them, but we're still paying substitute days. So really the only thing we'd be out of pocket is covering their days and not being charged a sick day during this emergency time for coronavirus. I saw where one of our neighboring districts did that, allowed up to 14 days, and they also gave 2 emergency, they call them personal mental health days for whatever issue. One district approved that last week. I just think we need to protect our people, not get them in a situation where they're owing us money for insurance because of sick days. We just hired them.
I have a question. In 14 days, just as an example, I mean, that happened 3 times this year. And they're still out 30 days a day at some point. You know, I'm just, if 14 days was our number. Or, which I had teachers call me today and ask specifically, you know, like what happens if the teachers, you know, exposed at work, and all 3 of their kids are sick, and then they're out 60 days, you know, watching.
That could happen.
Yeah, so.
So you're saying not just verifiable case, but any type of exposure, quarantine for exposure.
We're requiring that for.
I think what I've heard is that if you're exposed, whether you're sick or not, you've got to isolate for 14 days. You may be very well. The thing I've asked Fraser about is the fact, we're going to be checking up on these students a lot, especially ones that are home and those that are the monitored distance education. I don't think it'd be unreasonable to ask a teacher who is isolating at home who is not sick to help with that participation.
Right.
I know we've got a person supervising that. Would it not be appropriate for that person to help maintain a pool of people?
Absolutely.
You may not want a high school teacher checking up on a kindergartner, but surely we'll have people in those different areas.
We could have designated assignments for those teachers to do that are having quarantine, and also help us prepare for things that may happen down the road, whether coming up activities or learning options. That's good.
If we're requiring them to be off, or any employee for that matter, they could be participating in helping us monitor students. And if we had more people helping to monitor, it might even be a better situation for the students.
Quick question, are we having an increase of substitute teachers in school, or are we straight at where we were last year?
I wouldn't say we've had a big increase. We're out beating the bushes now looking for substitute teachers.
I mean, how many do you think more will we need to?
Well, we currently have, I would say 15 to 20 staff people who are either quarantined or isolated right now. We've not started school yet. So that's going to be fluid throughout the year. Now, with 300 teachers in 10 buildings, it's not that unusual to have 20 teachers out of it on average a day. It's still a building. But when we start getting up to where we're looking for 80 teachers, that's a whole different scenario.
What do you have to do to be a substitute teacher?
You have to apply, get a background check and pass it. It's pretty simple.
What's the pay for a substitute teacher?
If you are a licensed teacher, you make $80 a day. And if you're non-licensed, it's $56.
You might want to have some sort of a campaign, promotional.
We've been working on that. But in talking to Mr. Jackson, he said, what, if we decide to do that, all of our policies, it allows the board, director, schools, principal to require a medical excuse for any absence. I mean, a lot of times we don't do that, but anytime. So that's just documentation that, here's what's going on and I'm having to deal with this.
I know personnel falls a lot into our area. Can we require or ask that if someone's taking a non-medical leave, policy leave, that they be assigned other duties? That's something we can, as the board, can say, to maintain a pay status. They would assume other duties related to their job.
Well, I think the answer would be yes and no. If you say, hey, we're not going to count you a sick day, we're going to allow you to work from home, teach you, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, we're not going to pay you. And that's pretty easy. And we've heard from day one from all attorneys that during this time, if you ask somebody to do something and they refuse to do it, you don't terminate, you just don't pay them.
Are we going to have a requirement they get tested if they claim they've got it? That way it's proof that they come back negative.
Well,
how's that going? How are we
There-
going to prove that?
the health department is saying if you've been in close contact now, you have to come get a test. Now, are they arresting people who don't do that? Probably not. And some of
But
them-
I'm just saying, if you have 15 teachers all of a sudden don't come into work 1 week, are we going to be able to go and say, all right, we need you to, just because you got the sniffles, I'm not trying to downplay anything, but I mean.
They would have to document from some medical provider that it's COVID related, whether health department's contacts them, say you've been in close contact, you need to stay quarantined for 14 days, or we would need proof of that.
Would it be wrong then to say, if use your example, Judge Sniffles, that because they use their sick leave? They just have the sniffles.
Right.
The sick leave would be.
You have teachers that'll be sick and absent won't be COVID related. We're just talking about if they're having quarantine for extended period of time or isolated, the documentation would be covered.
Okay, so what's the appropriate motion? To maintain pay status in the COVID-19 isolation situation subject to other duties assigned, or something like that? Can y'all make something nice sounding out of that?
How many days?
You can put a number on it, but I don't know that you're gonna pick the correct number. We've got one family that I know of that one spouse had it, the other spouse and kids are quarantined, another one got it, they're all still quarantined, then the child got it, so they've been over a month, they've all been.
That doesn't pay to have a big family right now.
At that vote. So, can someone make that motion sound nice, clean? Move that we maintain pay status for employees in isolated situation, subject to other assignment, not really assignments.
Teresa's posture, great. Great.
You clean up a lot of what I say anyway, so.
Well, whatever we develop, then we'll have to shoot it to our board attorney.
Okay, well,
Get their opinion on it.
so is a motion to pursue that appropriate, or do we just do that without a motion?
I think you can make a motion for us to pursue it and put it in the verbiage that could be amended once the board attorney approves it, could be bring it back. I mean, it could all be retroactive. We may not get officially approved in September.
Look at my unofficial parliamentarian and see if that's so.
Do we need to put a test positive clause in there?
Well, but
Hold on, Mr. Buck.
But if I test positive and my wife's negative, she's got to stay home. And the health department, if she does stay home, they're gonna send something because she's not compliant.
Somebody in the house.
They have to.
Some kind of verification that there's any exposure.
Yes,
or
that's what I get at. Maybe not test
Some kind of verifiable.
Right.
That's doable, isn't it, Mark?
I think so, yeah, I think it is, and two, the tests are coming around so much quicker now, I mean, we've got a 15-minute test now, granted, it's not access, but, so we're not having to wait 10 to 12 days like we did, so it's definitely coming around. And so, but yeah, I think we need to take care of that, I'll make a motion that we, in a verifiable situation related to COVID-19, virus infection, quarantine thereof, continue paying for our staff within a reasonable situation verified by a health provider.
Great.
Much better than Steve.
Don't ask you.
I just the pretty face.
I mean, if we're requiring them to do that, I think that's the least we can do, try to take care of our people. And help them to do the right thing when, when finances are an issue. It's even a whole lot harder for them coming to work versus not getting paid.
And if
We're going to provide protection for our kids too.
we use 14 days and we see down the line, that's not gonna be.
I think we should put a date on it because what they're telling us now is 10 days. The last ones that I'm familiar with, is 10 days quarantine. And so,
Cover all staff.
and that's what you do, you get tested and so,
Bus drivers,
yeah,
cafeteria
any of the
workers.
employees, I think we have to all. I didn't say we.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any questions about that? I mean, Martin, I'm sorry I didn't cut you off, anything else?
No, you're fine.
Sorry, I apologize. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Martin's motion passes. Okay, monitor distance education participation in extracurricular activities. Don't want to come to school, but want to play ball, huh?
I just, when we met the last time, and you all know my stance, reasoning behind feeling safe to come instructionally, but feeling safe participating in other activities. That's my personal opinion. My professional situation or stance would be, if we do that, the big complaint is, well, a homeschooler can play sports, can do whatever. But a homeschooler is not enrolled in our school system. So a homeschooler is, in essence, mom and dad's in charge of education, but by law, we have to allow them to try out and participate. The one segue off this, in sticking with this rule, you may have some parents say, okay, then I'm dropping out and I'm going to homeschool. Now I'm eligible. You have to allow me to try out participate as you do everyone else. But now you've lost this student on your enrollment, which what we're funded by in the future. Some districts have allowing it. TSAA has come out and said you can be a virtual student in a school and you're eligible to play. They have made that announcement. So if we allow it, there's nothing against it. But it will be challenged. There are already been a couple of lawsuits that have challenged districts who have said that they couldn't participate because they chose to do it at home learning, and they've been sued.
So TSAA that says they're only in charge of postseason activities. So now telling us who we can and can't play.
They went behind the whole time, now they're trying to throw down legislation that doesn't have anything to do with them.
But they have determined those students are eligible as long as they're enrolled.
What has been the feedback, and much like you, I don't understand if parents have a concern for the health and well-being of their child, keeping them at home, to enroll in MDE, and turn around and send them to football practice where they slobber all over each other, and other kids that have been in school all day.
Right. I agree.
What is the rationale that you are hearing from these parents who want to participate in band, whatever, extracurricular activities? What's the rationale that they're giving you? Because
I have not had one person speak to me.
all emotional media.
I think Mr. Davidson probably has had a conversation. Mr. Llewellyn's had at least a conversation. Now, those two principals reached out to me. I think Coach Mr. Lawrence may have had a conversation. Multiple principals have been approached by by parents saying, I don't want my kid to come to school, but I want them to still participate in that place. I don't know if you would like for them to speak.
I would, if it wouldn't be out of order, I would love to, just for educational purposes.
Just
what
a
the
general
rationale
scenario,
is.
what the reason was.
Open the floor.
At least as we probably have 6 to 8 that are hinging their MDE versus coming to school based on the board's decision here tonight. I feel like in our situation, if the board decides there, I agree with the personal sentiments that have been said, if I'm coming into an MDE situation because I'm worried about being sick, and if I'm coming to athletics, that's kind of a double standard, so to speak. I think the majority of ours would come to regular school, to 6 to 8. But if it was allowed for the MDE athletic participation to go forward, they would choose the MDE and still come and want to participate in sports. I don't think it will cause me at Gleason to lose students to another program. You run that risk, Mr. Frazier said. But that's the conversation about that. And it's been between about 6, 7, or 8 students. It's middle school. It's every level middle school, every level high school, every sport. Every sport we have has somebody at every level that's interested in doing MDE to continue to work.
And my stance to the board is, and one of my defenses would be, if a student gets remanded to alternative school, they don't participate. To me, that's an extracurricular. You can set guidelines for your students. I'm kind of like Lee. I think that it will keep some of our schools from losing some students. That if we say either you come to school if you're going to play or you don't, I think that will. Their decisions, I'm going to come to school. That's the only way I can play.
I've had the very same conversations that some parents have said that we're going to wait until Friday morning to make our decision. If the school board allows our kids to participate, we're going in MDE. And my conversation with him has been much the same as Mr. Lawrence's. Is let me tell you what precautions we have in place. I can control what we're doing in Westview. I can't guarantee you anything, but these are the things we've got in place. But you're going to let your son play football. I don't know what they're doing in Lake County. I have no clue what they're doing in Covington. And we're not going to be rolling around tackling each other in algebra, usually. Friday, when we're playing Lake County, I'm not going to run up 6 feet from them and go, you're down. I'm 6 feet from you. So I don't understand the logic either, but I have several hinging on the decisions made tonight. And if they're allowed, I will have 5 or 6 or 8 that will do MDE and then participate in extracurricular activities. Football, band, all of those things. I've talked to several parents, not just of athletes, but of extracurricular activities, all of those things that we do outside of the school building. That will, if it's decided tonight that they can do that, we'll do the MDE program.
Ms. Lawrence?
One additional scenario you'll face with that, not just our school, but at every school, is you potentially have a home that has 3 children in it, of all different grade levels, and maybe one of those children plays sports. So that child would come to school because they were going to play sports, but they were using MDE. We've got some of that split too in multiple children's homes where you're going to have some that are requesting the MDE and some come to school for the sport aspect, some stay home for the health aspect. But to me, personally, that defeats the purpose. If I'm worried in my household with exposure, maybe the way to go would be everybody needs to stay home. But I have run into a few situations, I know other principals have too, where we've got 3 or 4 or 5 kids in the home, and some are wanting to come to school and some are wanting to do MDE. So there's going to be some cross exposure there. And for athletic reasons and for other reasons.
Randy and I talked a couple of weeks ago that if we go down and say, if you're an MDE, you can't participate in extracurricular activities, and then a parent comes back and says, we'll just take them out and put them in homeschool. There is a situation where they have to wait a year, delay rule, unless there's a change of residence.
That's right.
So
That's where the legal issues are going to come up. Technically, if a child's in Dresden Middle and they were there last year and they played football, for example, and this year they decide I'm on a homeschool where I can play football. Well, they changed schools. They're no longer in Weakley County Dresden Middle. They're at home in a homeschool, real homeschool setting. So they have change schools, but not change residents. So tell somebody, that's always been a rule. They're ineligible for a year to do that.
Follow-up question, does your legal advisor feel like if we were to make somebody who had suggested, wants to do distance education and extracurricular activities, we do not allow that, do you think that there is grounds for legal action on that?
There's grounds to legal action.
Yeah,
and everything.
what do they think?
He feels like that it's very defensible. The only drawback is, it's not like you're not gonna be doing a lot of inmates fall, you know, we just have another layer to be doing. So, that was his comments, but he feels it's well within the board's realms to set that guideline.
How many are surrounding districts, do you know? Okay.
Make the guideline to prohibit it or to
Prohibit it.
And another issue too, the kids that are doing MDE, they're grouping at home with other pods. I think that's what a lot of the MDE are doing. Are we actually creating a bigger environment for our kids actually going to school?
Yeah, you're in a meeting with those kids, I agree,
So it's not a
that's
cut
a
and dry
healthy
situation, but if they're in their own little environment with 10 or 12 other kids, most of them, from what I'm understanding, is they're gonna do what they call pod groups and sort of MDE at home in pods. You know, pod gets it, well, everybody's gonna get it, and that kid's coming to football practice, and the whole team's got it. So there are issues, there's repercussions to the way we look at it. It's not just a, we don't want your kids to play kind of thing, it's, you know, an exposure to our kids that are.
In the governor's press conference today, they were very open that football is the most high-risk thing that they're allowing. It's you're much more susceptible in contact sports to get it than coming to school. That was said in the press conference today. So, but you don't have to play football, it's optional.
Sure.
You have to educate them on where to go.
Is there a motion to this matter?
I'll make a motion, but that we not allow MDE students not be involved in extracurricular activities.
Motion is second. Any questions or discussions about the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? It is passed.
I had a question, and I don't know if this is, and I know everybody's ready to go on it too, but, so football players, they don't have to wear masks, correct? Right. If I understood it right, cheerleaders do, they have to be 6 feet apart.
Our football players are supposed to wear a mask before practice and be screened, but once they're participating, they're not required to wear a mask.
Right. Okay.
Are you saying during practice or during games? You're talking about cheerleaders during practice or during games?
Both.
Cheerleaders only have to wear them if they're inside of 6 feet.
Are you sure? Could you check on that? Because I'm pretty sure that NCAA passed down.
I've not seen that meeting. No, I think that
Hopefully that was a misunderstanding.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure that if they're doing the cheer practice, 8 cheerleaders in the ring this big, they're spread out, they don't have. Okay, good deal. Well, if they start doing their stunts and this and all that.
Sure. So, go back on the question I had earlier, maybe this is out of order. So this would include things like the debate club and chess club and things like that.
Athletics, extracurricular activities, yeah.
And if we go to, let's say, if it gets real worse, and we have to do off campus only, there are no extracurricular activities at that time. Yeah, we're not.
So business.
Yeah.
We get that scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, volunteer coaches. Motion to approve volunteer coaches. Or second. Moved and seconded. Any questions about any of these assignments of volunteer coaches? All in favor of approving this list, say aye. Aye. All opposed? They are approved. Committee reports? Don't think we have any committee reports.
I'm gonna talk, I don't have a report, it's all about what we're doing now, but
We've got course lists.
let's do that.
We have the course list of the 20 some odd pages of courses. These are all the courses that we have available to teach in our programs.
And that's the annual state requirement you have to prove each year.
Move to approve.
Moving to second. Any question about the list of courses? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It is approved. Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I want to give you an update of kind of where we stand with our training, our teacher training, what we're thinking about in the future down the road. We have been training, and we have a platform, a Google platform, that teachers can set up their instruction. I'd say in a better term, it's like a lesson plan, but it's a virtual lesson plan that I can share with students, with families, that in a situation where we have a closure, I've designed all of my lessons via this platform. So I can communicate with parents, my students can see what's upcoming. As a teacher, I can log everything, and we have some teachers that use that even before the coronavirus. That's all they utilize is the technology, and that's how they communicate with their students, their children. As we're moving forward in training, we're going to be training teachers in how to virtually give a lesson through GoToMeetings, Zoom, whatever their favorite platform is. So in a setting, for example, if we had to have a long-term closure, we could have, teachers will have their lessons set up through this Google platform, and folks can go to a link and we can link on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 to 11. We're going to have algebra class, and Mr. Maddox is our math teacher. He's going to be live. Everyone at home can see the instruction. And then we can have all of our lessons and activities going on the days we're not actually doing instruction. And saying that, that's moving well. Betsy Foster has been doing training. We've got to do some linking in our schools with all of our technology. We have an expert in every building, a teaching expert. And some of our folks that I never dreamed would have utilized this have already got their lessons downloaded into it. So in saying that, with a little time and a little luck in the worst case scenario, we will be in a much better situation if we have to close. What we don't want to have to do, but sometimes that's the only measure, is have to have a closure, and now we're sending home packets of material for kids to do busy work. It's not instruction. So in saying that, that's the whole plan of getting these teacher laptops and all these instructional ready devices where we can do these kind of platforms to have more of a live setting, even though we would be in a home atmosphere. In saying that, I know you all probably would bring it up if I didn't. We're all getting all kinds of comments, emails, calls about concern over the spike in cases, with all suggestions about what to do with the August 17th deadline. You know, we're constantly talking about plans about the what ifs. I think any decision we would make on August 6th would be premature. I don't think we could be in a completely different situation a week from now than we are today. Much worse or much better. But I do think we all have to be open enough to know that this is a fluid situation and it could potentially have to change. One of the things that we talked about this morning with my instructional team, we've had a lot of these conversations for 2 or 3 months, is in a closure setting, if we have students that are special needs children that need those special services that you can't do remotely, some kids that we just cannot get access to be involved in instruction, we might close our school for the students who have access at home, who have devices, but still have a small portion of kids coming every day. Our teachers will be at school, and so it might look like in my algebra class, I've got 30 students first period, and 4 of those don't have technology, can't get the live feed at home. We could bus those 4 to school, and I could be teaching the 26 at home and have their devices, and those 4 in my classroom, much smaller setting, everyone's getting the same instruction, it's equitable for everyone. So those are the kind of conversations that we're having, thinking outside the box on a daily basis. So we're making plans for all different scenarios. And I know you all probably are getting calls or comments both ways. And I've gotten them both ways. You know, I can't believe you didn't open up last Monday. And some saying, I can't believe you're even thinking about opening up August 17th. So we're getting it both ways and just telling you we are thinking about all scenarios.
The Google Classroom, is that an app on a laptop? What that is?
Mark, you want to speak to that?
Google Classroom is a learning platform. It is available on the web. I'm unfamiliar with the app, but I think there actually is an app that they could download to their phone and use. With the experience with online registration this week, it works. All things work better on a computer, so you can see the whole screen. So, but yes, there is an
That's
app.
what I meant, like it's available. You don't have to have, you can just go online and access it online on the computer.
It is all online.
Okay.
Yes. Our problem is, as we've spoken before, not every kid has access to the internet. And we're trying to solve some of that inequity.
But earlier we were talking about, we won't get these laptops until, worst case possibly Christmas. So we may be in a situation where we have to close down. That's forced upon us. So in a situation where we may be forced to go campus, maybe do a little hybrid where those that don't have access come in, this is accessible to anybody with an internet connection. Yeah.
And what we would do when we get back to school, one of our first things we're going to do is get an accurate survey of how many children have a device. And once again, I think that number is larger than we think. And if I've got 3 kids at home, they all have their own laptops, the school doesn't need to give me one. We'll provide that to someone who doesn't have one, that we can distribute that. Now, I will say that Monday is the deadline for our MDE registration. And so after Monday, we'll have a clear idea. As we said today, we've had 236 have enrolled at this point. 29 at Dresden Elementary, 10 at Dresden Middle, 8 at Dresden High, 17 at Gleason, 15 Greenfield, 33 Martin Primary, 42 Martin Elementary, 34 Martin Middle, 31 Westview, and 16 Sharon. So we know that, as we said today, we've had 236 sign up. That number will go up. But what we don't know is how many are not coming back that have not signed up for anything. We won't know that until this normally in a regular school year, we'd have a live registration on Thursday, first day of school is Monday. On Tuesday morning, I call schools and say, give me a head count. How many folks we got? Because that we've gone through registration, we've had an actual live day. That's going to look a little different now. I'm going to call schools and say, give me how many didn't show up that you were expecting. Well, we can get an idea of what that number looks like. So we could have 400 kids that don't come back, or them sign up with us, some don't. It could be more than that. We still won't know until that deadline passes.
Sorry for all the questions, but the deadline is Monday. Has that been disseminated to everybody? Everybody knows that day?
Yes.
Okay.
And we intentionally set that after registration. All of our registration has been going on during this week in multiple facets, and even last
What do
week.
you have to do to register in DE? Just go online?
Well, they have to have a conversation with the building principal.
Okay.
Because they need to understand what they're signing up for and know what that commitment looks like, and before we allow them to sign up. We want them to know what they're getting into.
When they sign up for MDE, and they say after a few weeks, they say, this isn't for me, I'm ready, I want to go back to on campus. Can they do that, or are they locked into this?
Our plan has been originally to say that once you sign up, you're there for a grading period. We originally thought for a semester because we don't want to have to continue to reshuffle. How many teachers do you need in the building? How many got to be responsible at home if that number's constantly changing? Some districts are doing it on a grade period for 6 weeks. I'm not against that. What I would like to have the flexibility, kind of like you all allow me to do it when a student has to transfer on a case-by-case basis. So there might be a scenario that happens where I say, hey, yeah, we need to let this child come back. Maybe mom and dad had to go back to work and they were at home with that child and now. So I think, yes, we need some guidelines, but I don't want us to be married to saying only in each semester's the only time you can move back and forth. We may have students that, for medical reasons, have to quarantine unexpectedly for a long period of time. We may put them on the program. We may have students that won't comply with our guidelines at school that are disrupting and not following the safety procedure. We may say, hey, you're causing too much of an issue here. It'd be better for you to sign up for an online program. So, yes, we did set deadline, but I would hope the board would give me the flexibility to alter that on a case by case and let me deal with that headache and not you all.
We appreciate it.
Mr. Madden.
My colleagues are sending me chats that they would like interjected. One is the MDE sample video is on the website. So if a family wants to go see what the MDE program looks like, that is on the website, Weakley County School's website. The second one is Mr. Kelly wanted to make sure that the board saw this flyer that he is distributing to every college in the area about substitute teachers and other places as well.
We're getting, I'm sure you all are lots of offers to volunteer and help out. I think there needs to be a clearinghouse for something like that. How do you want people who want to help? Is that something that should check with the distance education people or the supervisors?
No, I would say if they'll reach out to us up at the central office, we'll try to funnel something maybe through our website, let Karen set something up. She's been trying to kind of promote that we need volunteer help, and hopefully that would even segue in and then become a full-time substitute. I think she's willing to do that, help promote that.
So ask them.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
Will they all have to be background checks?
They'll have to be background checks if they're
At
one-on-one.
their own side.
We will refund background checks. Now, there's two different types of volunteer. If you're under the direct supervision, if I have a volunteer come in and work with me as the teacher, and I'm sitting with that volunteer and the students all the time, you know, but if we're asking them to be isolated with students, and it's a little bit different.
We're not gonna pay them back to have a bunch of felonies on there.
No, they have to pass it in.
I guess the only really comment I've got, and it's really more of a request. I know we have a plan. I know that there are plans in place, contingency plans. I hate telling someone that calls me, I don't know, as much as I hate having to call you because what you're doing. So I would just, as you continue to do so, please, if there any additional information that you can get out there in front of the school board members for us to disseminate information to concerned citizens that are calling, whether it's much like talking about the teachers that I know Kim had a long conversation with today about, and I'm going to get docked, 205 hours, the 165 number that's floating all over Weakley County. Anything like that that you think would be advantageous in our discussions with our constituents? I know you're so good about picking up the phone when you call. I am, but I want to take that burden. I know we all want to take that burden off of you. If we could just, there's something that pops up that you.
Well, I did a Zoom with every staff in our county, Friday, Monday, probably a 30 to 45 minute me going through why we're doing what we're doing. Here are our mask wearing requirements. Here are our isolation quarantine requirements. Fielding questions. I begged them to send me questions, to allow me to answer those, but then they still don't go to their principal, they don't go send me an email, they call directly to the board. And it's a little frustrating because we need them to be at the table at the very front to help us solve problems. You know, it's kind of like with our operation plans now that we're back in school and that they were having some questions about that. Well, our operations plan at each school was formed by those teachers and that team that knows that building better than I do that are not there every day. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm more than welcome and glad to answer questions, but the real answer is, if I give definite answers, I'm not telling the truth. I'm just not. Because I can't predict what's going to happen. I can tell you we are working diligently. We've not even talked about, we might have a plan where we alternate, half the kids come one day and half the next. That's on, everything is on the table depending on what happens. Now, a month ago, we only had 20 cases for everybody, went everywhere in the world. I never dreamed we'd be in a bad situation to be on now. Hopefully now everybody's at home and we're through vacation and things are calm down and we'll be better in 2 weeks.
Now, and again, I understand that, but I'm talking from a school board member's perspective. I hope I'm not speaking for everyone, but just again, back to that 165 number that hit us all kind of out of the blue. And I know that's something you can necessarily control, but
The first number we were given was called an ROI, which is dependent on the number of the population of your county compared to the active cases that you currently have. And that is one number. And our number is 165. And we're at 250 something. That's only one measure. Another measure is the amount of increase of cases you had in a 7-day period. We're above where we need to be there. That's not a third reason we would consider what to do with school is staffing issue. You know, if next week I've got 80 people that can't come to school, we can't have school. So that all those things come into factor. Now, any of those medical concerns or numbers that I give you, I'll have correspondence with health department. They'll call and say, hey, look, like at graduation, we recommend that we don't do graduation right now. And I've at least, me or my team has talked to them at least multiple times a week. I don't talk to them personally myself every week. I know Ms. Kempton, Lorna, between us, we've had a conversation with the health department on a weekly basis. We've been closed down to kind of get a feel. And matter of fact, last Thursday when I called, our numbers were 176, and they said it doesn't touch it. And now we see where we're at now. So I'm telling you, that's not where we're at. So.
We'll go back to the Google Classroom real quick. Is that something that we want to advise our parents to go ahead and try to figure out a way to understand, know how to connect to it now so that it.
Not now, because we don't have it linked to our school or teachers.
Okay. When would we be able to do?
Whenever all the teachers get done. I mean, I can't give you a date on that.
Okay.
But as soon as we do, then marketing have to do something tech-wise that links everything back to it. But two of the days we're doing with teachers, these first 2 weeks, 2 days are designated to do nothing but that. Principals are allowing them to kind of build their platform. Let's say we had to shut school down. If we decide that's the decision, if we shut it down on a Friday, we probably would say next Thursday we'll start back up and give teachers a couple more days to get the lesson plans that are ready for those days on the platform and be ready to go. As soon as we can get it built, we'll start sharing that out where folks can see it. But I'm not sure how long. I'll just be guessing about it.
He'd be wrong.
Is that something that could be volume crashed? Well, I mean, you know, I'm all for everybody having access to information, but if, 4,000 families got in there and I'm about 44,000.
My answer, Mr. Chairman, if you want an answer, is it's Google.
Yeah, that's what.
When we crash Google, we've done something.
Everybody's got to have goals.
That's a comment from an old guy that had his email down for 5 days because he couldn't figure out how to reboot it.
That's in the minutes.
It's okay. I'll own up for it. Ms. Frazier, board members? Well, this is a new turf, new ground. Thank you and your staff for going above and beyond. We're staying ahead. I feel confident that we're the best possible place to be.
We'll have some conversations with our buildings and our operation plans, and some teachers brought some concerns up. And where teachers can address those specifically with school, we'll try to think creatively outside the box. But for example, a class change lunch look different this year, it just is. And there's no way around that. Lunches are gonna look different. And I would just say, I'll just keep you all posted. If things will look different a week from now, we'll make no decisions. Right now, I'll say,
I'm confident we can do our best with it. I wouldn't recommend we go back. People gotta behave, gotta do what we need them to do. No comments? There's no objection, we'll adjourn.
off the record, one thing I forgot. We have bought water bottles for every